Kia ora koutou, ko Grace tako ingoa. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Grace, Curator of Applied Arts and Design, and I care for a collection of objects at the museum designed and made to be equally as beautiful as it is practical. The Applied Arts and Design collection at Tamaki Paengahere, Auckland War Memorial Museum is diverse, ranging from jewellery and textiles to ceramics, furniture, horology, and musical instruments, to name a few. It also spans across cultures, from Asia to the Americas and, of course, Aotearoa, New Zealand. One common thread that ties them together is the very human stories they hold, many of which are often overlooked or forgotten, sometimes because of the vessel that hold them are everyday objects that appear mundane or ubiquitous. Today, I'd like to share a few of these stories that I found when I looked through the bag collection in Applied Arts and Design for what became the exhibition Carried Away, Bags Unpacked, which opened in June 2019. Although the exhibition showcased almost the entire collection of 150 bags and all the things stored in them, some stories had to be cut for brevity or couldn't quite make it into the book. And I'd like to give a few of them their moment now. This brown paper bag in the collection was made for New World in the 70s, and you can see from the style of dress of the woman imaged and the graphic choice. I particularly like the slogan, "There's aisles of smiles at New World." Something about that phrase triggers a nostalgia of simpler times gone past. Brown paper bags with flat bottoms were the carry of choice for grocers in the early 20th century. Before the arrival of supermarkets as we know today, shoppers would go visit their local grocer, select their produce from behind the counter, and their grocer would then pack it up and deliver it to them. This was a time when not everyone had access to car and women did most of the shopping, and they couldn't carry a week worth of groceries back home. If you think about it, it's sort of like an in-person version of click and collect and delivery services we have today. The brown paper bag was sturdy and could sit upright as grocers picked them up. An American inventor, Margaret E. Knight, designed the machine that made the flat-bottom paper bags. In the mid-19th century, flat-bottom bags were already in general use in Britain. However, technology of the time meant machines were only able to produce the weaker, narrower, envelope-shaped paper bag, which meant that the flat-bottom bag had to be made by hand and was more costly. Other inventors tried to improve the hand production of flat-bottom bags, but most only managed to achieve semi-automation until Knight, who invented a machine that fully automated the process, from cutting, folding, and gluing in 1868. However, when Knight tried to patent her machine, she discovered that Charles Annan, a machinist who visited the shop where her iron prototype was being built, had stolen her designs and patented it first. He refuted her claims by arguing that she, a woman, could not possibly understand the mechanical complexities of the machine. Knight eventually won her 16-day hearing after presenting copious amounts of evidence like hand-drawn blueprints, notes, and witnesses that testified on her behalf. She received her patent in 1871 and founded the Eastern Paper Bag Company, where she produced and supplied paper bags much like the modern-day ones we use today to grocers throughout the 1870s. The popularity of the paper bag was also taken up by a department store like this one from Smith & Co.'s, which is made in the 60s. Smith & Co. is one of the oldest survivor businesses in New Zealand. It was founded by Irish immigrant Mary Ann Smith née Coe, who established her own drapers and milliners in 1880. Her husband and fellow draper joined a year later, followed by her brother Andrew Coe. With the lack of ready-made garments, business flourished for Smith & Co.'s drapers and clothier. It saw the expansion of the store across 4 buildings, and in order to cater for a booming population, Smith & Co.'s grew their offering beyond fabric into furniture, furnishing, and household effects of airy imagination. The current store is actually 4 separate buildings merged under one roof, with the original drapery at its heart. I like how both New World and Smith & Co.'s paper bag have a reduced palette, black, red, and blue for New World. It reflects not just a design style of the time, but also the cost and limited capacity of printing in the past that meant that there were limited inks to choose from, and addition of colors would have been very costly. This was one of the reasons that created these hand-decorated paper bags drawn by Andrew Bishop, who along with Tanya Sheridan co-founded Feline, a clothing label catered for high-fashion street style for women and men in Aotearoa. They opened their first store in May 1987, during a time when Central Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, was undergoing great change, with heritage buildings uprooted in favour of shiny high-rise towers, and Feline was active in showcasing New Zealand fashion. The hand-decorated bags came about because printer bags were enormously expensive to produce in the volume Andrew and Tanya required, so they decided to create a more personal experience, and broke out the craft supplies. Initially, the designs were drawn using alcohol-based markers on ultra-cheap brown paper supermarket bags, and based upon the label's cat head logo. However, as time went by, Andrew's low threshold for the repetition and overactive imagination resulted in an ever-evolving stream of styles which were closely connected to the themes of the ranges they were retailing. With business going well, Feline could afford the more luxurious white paper carrier bags and expanded their range of materials to include paint, glitter, fabric scraps, and sequins. It's not surprising that they were popular with customers of the day who collected them in earnest. The bag on the right features a cat in a bandana that was Feline's first mascot, called Lucky. And the woman on the left appeared in many guises, but her main role was a member of the Feline Fashion Police, and her look was based upon cartoon women characters of the Ren and Stimpy show. Success in business and the rise of computer graphics meant the end of the line for the individually decorated bag, and after a few years, Feline moved to machine-printed bags. Paper was replaced by plastic bags shortly after the discovery of polyethylene, which is used in plastic carrier bags, in the 1930s by British chemists. The design of our modern plastic bags was developed in the 1960s and offered both durability and portability without the weight or bulk of paper bags. With the plastics also came large-scale, self-serve supermarkets where customers could move freely along different departments and pick food themselves. The first supermarket came to Aotearoa, New Zealand in the 1920s under Foursquare, and the first self-serve supermarket opened on February 1948 in Onehunga, Auckland. On the 1st of July 2019, supermarkets in Aotearoa made the environmental conscious decision to ban single-use plastic bags from their checkout counters. Although the verdict is still out on the initiative's benefit for the environment, it has had a direct impact on our behaviour. We are required to bring a bag to the supermarket, or face the walk of shame as we juggle our groceries in our arms. This glass bag by Isaac Katzoff is blown to mimic a plastic bag. Isaac's work recreates everyday, often thrown away objects like plastic bags or containers in glass, a material that's not only more costly, but also requires craftsmanship. The glass bag is made from clear glass, tinted pink, and blown so thin until it starts to collapse onto itself, creating these organic wrinkles that Isaac pinches with a tool to set them, which takes the form of something disposable and puts into question the value of object. It asks why preserve something that you essentially throw away. In the context of the museum, Isaac's work is invaluable, not only because of its artistic merit, but because of the concept it represents, the idea of value and throwaway culture. Further, it's a physical representation of an object we cannot preserve. The museum does not collect soft plastic bags because the nature of soft plastic means that it will degrade within 50 years, despite the best storage environment, and it may off-gas, which may affect other objects that's stored around it. Therefore, the glass version of the plastic bag represents the now extinct single-use supermarket bag and represents a new way we have to shop. What bag do you take to the grocery shop? Do you carry a branded supermarket bag that suggests you're a loyal customer? Is it a tote bag from your favorite bulk food store, cafe, museum, or bookstore? Perhaps just a jute bag made by fashion designers that's both fashionable and functional. Or the brown paper bag that you purchase at the counter because you forgot your reusable bag at home. Regardless of the type of reusable bag you choose to carry, your choice shares a little part of you with the world, from your hobbies to your lifestyle. In the same way, bags in the museum tell stories of its past owners and tells a collective, if sometimes one-sided story. Due to the inherited legacy of applied arts and design collection, the bags in there are skewed towards a Western tradition and representation. However, before paper bags or plastic bags, Māori already had a deep history of making carriers. The kete is described as a traditional Māori woven basket, but it functioned like all bag, a soft carrier that can carry food and personal objects. It arises from a long history of raranga, weaving, tradition and exists within a wider whakapapa of Māori culture values and spiritual beliefs that makes the kete and the process of making kete tongas precious. This kete is made by Fiona Walker-Jones following traditional raranga weaving techniques using harekeke, New Zealand flax, and muka, which is flax fibre that has been made soft by scraping, pounding, and washing of the hard flax fibre. Fiona added a contemporary touch through her use of beads that embellish the handle and rim of the kete, which adds to the whimsy of the kete. The value of bags have shifted throughout history depending on the meanings we place upon it. A New World plastic bag surfaced on Facebook Marketplace as a rare collectible item earlier this year. The seller said it was a handy hero, fallen due to it being labelled as a menace due to its disposability. Although the seller stated that it's not the label that determined the disposability of the bag, but how it's used. Although single-use plastic bags were labelled as such, they had multiple uses, like bin liners, bike seat covers, and even a kite, much like how this paper version was used to store buttons for the owner. It's a curious story that this object actually came in for the buttons, not for the bags, and the bag was just a bonus. It's a timely reminder that even as we go towards being plastic-free, it is our relationship with materials and how we use, reuse, and recycle objects that's important. That we use a bag, whichever of our choice, as a bag for life, instead of stockpiling ever more canvas tote bags, which has its own carbon footprint. No matter what shape or form the reusable bag comes in, the bag is an essential tool for our daily lives. Although it's changed shapes and materials from paper to plastic, it's still one of the most essential tools we have. Ursula Le Guin, in her essay The Carrier Bag Theory of Fiction, retells human history often inherited as a violent hunt for survival by refocusing on the empty vessel that enables early human to carry more than they could in their hands and gather food. She maintains rather than the spear, it is the receptacle, the carrier bag, sling, shell, or gourd that is the earliest human tool. She writes, before the tool that forces energy outwards, we have made the tool that brought energy home. Home being another larger kind of pouch or bag, a container for people. How did the handbag come to dominate our understanding and thoughts about the bag? This is a story for another day. If you're curious, some of it is explored in Carried Away, Bags Unpacked exhibition, which is now online, and you can read the accompanying book that contains a catalogue of all the bags. This is a made pouch that was from the 1920s, and it features a compact that's embedded within its case. It's very, very small and can only carry some coins and lipstick, as you can see in the images on the right. Through the lens of the cycle of shopping bags, we have traced human stories that span across hundreds of years. The brown paper bag speaks about innovative women and the way we used to shop. The feline shopper bag shares a snippet into craft in Aotearoa and of Kiwi creativity, and the glass bag tells of our relationship with objects we deem disposable, and how we can change that. Perhaps the next time you pick up your carrier of choice, you can spare a second to think not just about the things you wish to carry in it, but the personal or communal stories you may impart with it. Thank you.